Body by Dorothy L. Sayers. "Oh, damn," said Lord Peter Wimsey at Piccadilly Circus. "Hi, driver!" The taxi-man, irritated at receiving this appeal while negotiating the intricacies of turning into Lower Regent Street across the route of a 19 bus, a 38B and a bicycle, bent an unwilling ear. "I've left the catalogue behind," said Lord Peter deprecatingly. "Uncommonly careless of me. Do you mind putting back to where we came from?" "To the Savile Club, sir?" "No, 110 Piccadilly. Just beyond." "Thank you." "Thought he was in a hurry," said the man, overcome with a sense of injury. "I'm afraid it's an awkward place to turn into," said Lord Peter, answering the thought rather than the words. His long, amiable face looked as if it had generated spontaneously from his top hat, as white maggots breed from gorgonzola. The taxi, under the severe eye of a policeman, revolved by slow jerks, with a noise like the grinding of teeth. The block of new, perfect and expensive flats in which Lord Peter dwelt upon the second floor stood directly opposite the Green Park, in a spot for many years occupied by the skeleton of a frustrate commercial enterprise. As Lord Peter let himself in, he heard his man's voice in the library, uplifted in that throttled stridency peculiar to well-trained persons using the telephone. "I believe it is lordship's just coming in again. If your grace would kindly hold the line a moment." "What is it, Bunter?" "Her Grace is calling from Denver, my lord. I was just saying your lordship had gone to the sale when I heard your lordship's latchkey." "Thanks. And you might find my catalogue, would you? I think I must have left it in my bedroom, or on the desk." He sat down to the telephone with an air of leisurely courtesy, as though it were an acquaintance dropped in for a chat. "Hello, mother. That you?" "Oh, there you are, dear," replied the voice of the Dowager Duchess. "I was afraid I'd just missed you." "Well, you had, as a matter of fact. I was just starting off to Brocklebury's sale to pick up a book or two, but I had to come back for the catalogue. What's up?" "Such a quaint thing, I thought I'd tell you. You know little Mr. Phipps." "Phipps? Phipps?" "Oh, yes, the little architect man who's doing the church roof. Yes. What about him?" "Mrs. Throgmorton's just been in quite a state of mind." "Sorry, mother, I can't hear. Mrs. who?" "Throgmorton. Throgmorton, the vicar's wife." "Oh, Throgmorton, yes." "Mr. Phipps rang them up this morning. It was his day to come down, you know." "Yes?" "He rang them up to say he couldn't. He was so upset, poor little man. He'd found a dead body in his bath." "Sorry, mother, I can't hear that. Found what, where?" "A dead body, dear, in his bath." "What?" No, we haven't finished. Please don't cut us off, operator. Hello, is that you, mother? Hello, mother." "Oh, yes, sorry." The girl was trying to cut us off. "What sort of body?" "A dead man, dear, with nothing on but a pair of pince-nez. Mrs. Throgmorton positively blushed when she was telling me. I'm afraid people do get a little narrow-minded in country vicarages." "Well, it does sound a bit unusual. Was it anybody he knew?" "No, dear, I don't think so, but of course he couldn't give her many details. She said he sounded quite distracted. He's such a respectable little man, and having the police in the house and so on really worried him. Poor little Phipps. Uncommonly awkward for him. Let's see, he lives in Battersea, doesn't he?" "Yes, dear, 59 Queen Caroline Mansions opposite the park. That big block just around the corner from the hospital. I thought perhaps you'd like to run round and ask him. Ask if there's anything we can do. I always thought him such a nice little man." "Oh, quite," said Lord Peter, grinning at the telephone. The Duchess was always of the greatest assistance to his hobby of criminal investigation, though she never alluded to it, and maintained a polite fiction of its non-existence. "What time did it happen, mother?" "I think he found it early this morning, but of course he didn't think of telling the Throgmortons just at first. She came up to tell me before lunch. So tiresome I had to ask her to stay. Fortunately I was alone. I don't mind being bored myself, but I hate having my guests bored." "Poor old mother. Well, thanks awfully for telling me. I think I'll send Bunter to the sale and toddle round to Battersea now, try and console the poor little beast. So long. Goodbye, dear." "Bunter." "Yes, my lord." Grace tells me that a respectable Battersea architect has discovered a dead man in his bath. Indeed, my lord, that's very gratifying. Very, Bunter. Your choice of words is unerring. I wish Eton and Balliol had done as much for me. Have you found the catalogue? Here it is, my lord. Thanks. I'm going to Battersea at once. I want you to attend the sale for me. Don't lose time. I don't want to miss the Folio Dante, nor the Voragine. Here, you see? Golden Legend, winking the words. 1493. Got that? And I say, make a special effort of the Caxton folio of the Four Sons of Aymon. It's the 1489 folio, and unique. Look, I've marked the lots I want, and I've put my outside offer against each. Do your best for me. I shall be back to dinner. Very good, my lord. Take my cab and tell him to hurry. He may for you. He doesn't like me very much. Can I, said Lord Peter, looking at himself in the 18th century mirror over the mantelpiece, can I have the heart to fluster the flustered Thipps further? That's very difficult to say quickly. By appearing in a top hat and frock coat? I think not. 10 to 1 he will overlook my trousers and mistake me for the undertaker. A grey suit, I fancy, neat but not gaudy, with a hat to tone. Suits my other self better. Exit the amateur of first editions. New motif introduced by solo bassoon. Enter Sherlock Holmes, disguised as a walking gentleman. There goes Bunter. Invaluable fellow. Never offers to do his job when you've told him to do something else. Hope he doesn't miss the Four Seasons of Aymon. Still, there is another copy of that. In the Vatican. It might become available. You'll never know. If the Church of Rome went to pot, or Switzerland invaded Italy, whereas a strange corpse doesn't turn up in a suburban bathroom more than once in a lifetime. At least I should think not. At any rate, the number of times it's happened with a pince-nez might be counted on the fingers of one hand, I imagine. Dear me, it's a dreadful mistake to ride 2 hobbies at once. He had drifted across the passage into his bedroom, and was changing with a rapidity one might not have expected from a man of his mannerisms. He selected a dark green tie to match his socks, and tied it accurately without hesitation or the slightest compression of his lips, substituted a pair of brown shoes for the black ones, slipped a monocle into a breast pocket, and took up a beautiful Malacca walking stick with a heavy silver knob. That's all, I think. Stay, I may as well have you. You may come in useful. One never knows. He added a flat silver matchbox to his equipment, glanced at his watch, and seeing that it was already 3:15, ran briskly downstairs, and hailing a taxi, was carried to Battersea Park. Mr. Alfred Thipps was a small, nervous man, whose flaxen hair was beginning to abandon the unequal struggle with destiny. One might say that his only really marked feature was a large bruise over the left eyebrow, which gave him a faintly dissipated air incongruous with the rest of his appearance. Almost in the same breath with his first greeting, he made a self-conscious apology for it, murmuring something about having run against the dining-room door in the dark. He was touched almost to tears by Lord Peter's thoughtfulness and condescension in calling. "I'm sure it's most kind of your lordship," he repeated for the 12th time, rapidly blinking his weak little eyelids. "I appreciate it very deeply indeed, and so would Mother. Only she's so deaf I don't like to trouble you with making her understand. It's been very hard all day with the policemen in the house and all the commotion. It's what Mother and me have never been used to, always living very retired. It's most distressing to a man of regular habits, my lord, and really I'm almost thankful Mother doesn't understand, for I'm sure it would worry her terribly if she was to know about it. She was upset at first, but she's made up some idea of her own about it now. I'm sure that's for the best." The old lady, who sat knitting by the fire, nodded grimly in response to a look from her son. "I always said as you ought to complain about that bath, Alfred," she said suddenly, in the high piping voice peculiar to the deaf. "And it's to be hoped the landlord'll see about it now. Not but what I think you might have managed without having the police in. But there, you always were one to make a fuss about a little thing, from chicken pox up." "There now, you see how it is." "Not but what it's just as well she's settled on that, because she understands we've locked up the bathroom and don't try to go in there. But it's been a terrible shock to me, sir, my lord. But there, my nerves are all to pieces. Such a thing has never happened to me in all my born days. Such a state I was in this morning, I didn't know if I was on my head or my heels, I really didn't, and my heart not being too strong, I hardly knew how to get out of that horrid room and telephone for the police. It's affected me, sir, it's affected me, it really has. I couldn't touch a bit of breakfast, nor lunch neither. And what with telephoning and putting off clients and interviewing people all morning, I've hardly known what to do with myself. I'm sure it must have been uncommonly distressing, especially coming like that before breakfast. Hate anything tiresome happening before breakfast. Takes a man at such a confounded disadvantage, what? Oh, that's just it. When I saw that dreadful thing lying there in my bath, mother naked too, except for a pair of eyeglasses, I assure you, my lord, it regularly turned my stomach, if you'll excuse the expression. I'm not very strong, sir, and I get that sinking feeling sometimes in the morning, and what with one thing and another, I had to send the girl for a stiff brandy. Oh, I don't know what might have happened. I felt so queer, for I'm anything but partial to spirits as a rule. Still, I'll make it a rule never to be without brandy in the house, in case of emergency, you know. Very wise of you. You're a very seeing man, Mr. Phipps. Wonderful what a little nip'll do in case of need, and the less you're used to it, the more good it does you. Hope your girl is a sensible young woman, what? Nuisance to have women fainting and shrieking all over the place. Oh, Gladys is a good girl, very reasonable indeed. Oh, she was shocked, of course. That's very understandable. I was shocked myself. And it wouldn't be proper in a young woman not to be shocked under the circumstances. But she's really a helpful, energetic girl in a crisis, if you understand me. I consider myself very fortunate these days to have got a good, decent girl to do for me and mother, even though she's a bit careless and forgetful about little things. Oh, that's only natural. She was very sorry indeed about having left the bathroom window open, she really was, and though I was angry at first seeing what's come out of it, it wasn't anything to speak of in the ordinary way, as you might say. Girls will forget things, you know, my lord, and really she was so distressed I didn't like to say too much to her. All I said was, it might have been burglars, I said. Remember that next time you leave a window open all night. This time it was a dead man, and that's unpleasant enough. But next time it might be burglars, and all of us murdered in our beds. But the police Inspector Sugg they called him, from the yard. He was very sharp with her, poor girl. Quite frightened her, made her think he suspected her or something. Well, what good a body would be to her, poor girl, I can't imagine. I told the inspector so. He was quite rude to me, my lord. I may say I didn't like his manner at all. If you've got anything definite to accuse Gladys or me of, Inspector, I said to him, bring it forward. That's what you have to do, I said. But I've yet to learn that you're paid to be rude to a gentleman in his own household. Really, said Mr. Phipps, growing quite pink at the top of his head. He regularly roused me, my lord, and I'm a mild man as a rule. Sugg all over. I know him. When he don't know what else to say, he's rude. Stands to reason you and the girl wouldn't go collecting bodies. Who'd want to saddle himself with a body? Difficulty's usually to get rid of 'em. Have you got rid of this one yet, by the way? It's still in the bathroom. Inspector Sugg said nothing was to be touched till his men came in to move it. I'm expecting 'em at any time. If it would interest your lordship to have a look at it. Thanks awfully. I'd like to very much, if it's not putting you out. Not at all. His manner as he led the way along the passage convinced Lord Peter of two things. First, that gruesome as his exhibit was, he rejoiced in the importance it reflected upon himself and his flat. And secondly, that Inspector Sugg had forbidden him to exhibit it to anyone. The latter supposition was confirmed by the action of Mr. Phipps, who stopped to fetch the door-key from his bedroom, saying that the police had the other, but that he made it a rule to have 2 keys to every door, in case of accident. The bathroom was in no way remarkable. It was long and narrow, the window being exactly over the head of the bath. The panes were of frosted glass, the frame wide enough to admit a man's body. Lord Peter stepped rapidly across to it, opened it, and looked out. The flat was the top one of the building and situated about the middle of the block. The bathroom window looked out upon the backyards of the flats, which were occupied by various small outbuildings, coal-holes, garages, and the like. Beyond these were the back gardens of a parallel line of houses. On the right rose the extensive edifice of St. Luke's Hospital, Battersea, with its grounds, and, connected with it by a covered way, the residence of a famous surgeon, Sir Julian Freak, who directed the surgical side of the great new hospital, and was, in addition, known in Harley Street as a distinguished neurologist with a highly individual point of view. This information was poured into Lord Peter's ear at considerable length by Mr. Phipps, who seemed to feel that the neighbourhood of anybody so distinguished shed a kind of halo of glory over Queen Caroline Mansions.
"We had him round here himself this morning about this horrid business. Inspector Sugg thought one of the young medical gentlemen at the hospital might have brought the corpse round for a joke, as you might say. They are always having bodies in the dissecting room. So Inspector Sugg went round to see Sir Julian this morning to ask if there was a body missing. He was very kind, was Sir Julian, very kind indeed, though he was at work when they got there, in the dissecting room. He looked up the books to see that all the bodies were accounted for, and then, very obligingly, came round here to look at this," he indicated the bath, "and said he was afraid he couldn't help us. There was no corpse missing from the hospital, and this one didn't answer to the description of any they'd had."
"Nor to the description of any of the patients, I hope," suggested Lord Peter casually. At this grisly hint, Mr. Phipps turned pale.
"I didn't hear Inspector Sugg inquire. What a very horrid thing that would be. Oh, God bless my soul, my lord, I never thought of it."
"Well, if they'd missed the patient, they'd probably have discovered it by now. Let's have a look at this one." He screwed his monocle into his eye, adding, "I see you're troubled here with the soot blowing in. Beastly nuisance, ain't it? I get it too. Spoils all my books, you know. Oh, here, don't you trouble if you don't care looking at it." He took from Mr. Thipps's hesitating hand the sheet which had been flung over the bath, and turned it back. The body which lay in the bath was that of a tall, stout man of about 50. The hair, which was thick and black and naturally curly, had been cut and parted by a master hand, and exuded a faint violet perfume, perfectly recognisable in the close air of a bathroom. The features were thick, fleshy, and strongly marked, with prominent dark eyes, and a long nose curving down to a heavy chin. The clean-shaven lips were full and sensual, and the dropped jaw showed teeth stained with tobacco. On the dead face the handsome pair of gold pince-nez mocked death with grotesque elegance. The fine gold chain curved over the naked breast. The legs lay stiffly stretched out side by side, the arms reposed close to the body. The fingers were flexed naturally. Lord Peter lifted one arm and looked at the hand with a little frown. "Bit of a dandy, your visitor, what? Palm of violet and manicure?" He bent again, slipping his hand beneath the head. The absurd eyeglasses slipped off, clattering into the bath. The noise put the last touch to Mr. Thipps's growing nervousness.
"If you'll excuse me, it makes me feel quite faint, it really does."
He slipped outside, and he'd no sooner done so when Lord Peter, lifting the body quickly and cautiously, turned it over and inspected it with his head on one side, bringing his monocle into play with the air of the late Joseph Chamberlain approving a rare orchid. He then laid the head over his arm, and bringing out his silver matchbox from his pocket, slipped it into the open mouth. Then, making the noise usually written as tut-tut, he laid the body down, picked up the mysterious pince-nez, looked at it, put it on his nose, and looked through it, made the same noise again, readjusted the pince-nez upon the nose of the corpse, so as to leave no traces of interference for the irritation of Inspector Sugg, rearranged the body, returned to the window, and, leaning out, reached upwards and sideways with his walking-stick, which he had somewhat incongruously brought along with him. Nothing appearing to come of these investigations, he withdrew his head, closed the window, and rejoined Mr. Thipps in the passage. Mr. Thipps, touched by this sympathetic interest in the younger son of a duke, took the liberty, on their return to the sitting-room, of offering him a cup of tea. Lord Peter, who had strolled over to the window and was admiring the outlook on Battersea Park, was about to accept, when an ambulance came into view at the end of the Prince of Wales Road. Its appearance reminded Lord Peter of an important engagement, and with a hurried "By Jove!" he took his leave of Mr. Thipps. "My mother sent kind regards and all that," he said, shaking hands fervently. "Hopes you'll soon be down at Denver again. Good-bye, Mrs. Thipps," he bawled kindly into the ear of the old lady. "Oh, no, my dear sir, please don't trouble to come down." He was none too soon, As he stepped out of a door and turned towards the station, the ambulance drew up from the other direction, and Inspector Sugg emerged from it with 2 constables. The inspector spoke to the officer on duty at the mansions, and turned a suspicious gaze on Lord Peter's retreating back. "Dear old Sugg," said that nobleman fondly. "Dear, dear old bird. How he does hate me, to be sure." "Excellent, Bunter," said Lord Peter, sinking with a sigh into a luxurious armchair. "I couldn't have done better myself. The thought of the Dante makes my mouth water, and the 4 sons of Ammon. And you've saved me £60. That's glorious. What shall we spend it on, Bunter? Think of it, all ours to do with as we like. For, as Harold Skimpole so rightly observed, £60 saved is £60 gained, and I'd reckoned on spending it all. It's your saving, Bunter, and properly speaking, your £60. What do we want? Anything in your department? Would you like anything altered in the flat?" "Well, my lord, as your lordship is so good—" The manservant paused, about to pour an old brandy into a liqueur glass. "Well, out with it, my Bunter, you imperturbable old hypocrite. It's no good talking as if you were announcing dinner. You're spilling the brandy. The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. What does that blessed dark room of yours want now?" "Well, it's a double anastigmat with a set of supplementary lenses, my lord," said Bunter, with a note of almost religious fervour. "If it was a case of forgery now, or footprints, I could enlarge them right up on the plate. Or the wide-angled lens would be useful. It's as though the camera had eyes in the back of its head, my lord. Look, I've got it here." He pulled a catalogue from his pocket and submitted it, quivering, to his employer's gaze. Lord Peter perused the descriptions slowly. The corners of his long mouth lifted into a faint smile. "It's Greek to me. And £50 seems a ridiculous price for a few bits of glass. I suppose, Bunter, you'd say 750 was a bit out of the way for a dirty old book in a dead language, wouldn't you?" "It wouldn't be my place to say so, my lord." "No, Bunter. I pay you £200 a year to keep your thoughts to yourself." "Tell me, Bunter, in these democratic days, don't you think that's unfair?" "No, my lord." "You don't? Do you mind telling me frankly why you don't think it unfair?" "Frankly, my lord, your lordship is paid a nobleman's income to take Lady Worthington into dinner, and refrain from exercising your lordship's undoubted powers of repartee." Lord Peter considered this. "That's your idea, is it, Bunter? Noblesse oblige, for a consideration. Well, I dare say you're better off than I am, because I'd have to behave myself to Lady Worthington if I hadn't a penny. Bunter, if I sacked you here and now, would you tell me what you think of me?" "No, my lord." "You'd have a perfect right to, my Bunter, and if I sacked you on top of drinking the kind of coffee you make, I'd deserve everything you could say of me. You're a demon for coffee, Bunter. I don't want to know how you do it, because I believe it to be witchcraft, and I don't want to burn eternally. You can buy your cross-eyed lens." "Oh, thank you, my lord." "Have you finished in the dining-room?" "Not quite, my lord." "Well, come back when you have. I have many things to tell you." "Oh, who's that?" The doorbell had rung sharply. "Unless it's anybody interesting, I'm not at home." "Very good, my lord." Lord Peter's library was one of the most delightful bachelor rooms in London. Its scheme was black and primrose, its walls were lined with rare editions, and its chairs and Chesterfield sofa suggested the embraces of the hours. In one corner stood a black baby grand. A wood fire leaped on a wide, old-fashioned hearth, and the Sevres vases on the chimney-piece were filled with ruddy and gold chrysanthemums. To the eyes of the young man who was ushered in from the raw November fog, it seemed not only rare and unattainable, but friendly and familiar, like a colourful and gilded paradise in a medieval painting. "Mr. Parker, my lord." Lord Peter jumped up with genuine eagerness. "My dear man, I'm delighted to see you. What a beastly foggy night, ain't it? Bunter, some more of that admirable coffee, and another glass and the cigars. Parker, I hope you're full of crime. Nothing less than arson or murder will do for us tonight, on such a night as this." Bunter and I were just sitting down to carouse. I've got a Dante and a Caxton folio that's practically unique. Got it from Sir Ralph Brocklebury's sale. Bunter, who did the bargaining, is going to have a lens which does all kinds of wonderful things with its eyes shut. And we have both got a body in a bath. We have both got a body in a bath. For in spite of all temptations to go in for cheap sensations, we insist upon a body in a bath. Nothing less will do for us, Parker. It's mine at present, but we're going shares in it. Property of the firm. Won't you join us? You really must put something in the jackpot. Perhaps you have a body. Gin a body, meet a body, hauled before the beak. Gin a body jolly well knows who murdered a body, and that old Sugg is on the wrong track. Need a body speak? Not a bit of it. He tips a glassy wink to yours truly, and yours truly reads for truth. Said Parker. Yes, I knew you'd been round to Queen Caroline Mansions. So have I, and met Sugg. He told me he'd seen you. He was cross, too. Unwarrantable interference, he calls it. Well, I knew he would. I love taking a rise out of dear old Sugg. He's always so rude. I see by the Star that he has excelled himself by taking the girl Gladys, something or other, into custody. Sugg of the evening, beautiful Sugg. But what were you doing there? Well, to tell you the truth, I went round to see if the Semitic-looking gentleman in Thip's bath was by any extraordinary chance Sir Reuben Levy. But it isn't. Sir Reuben Levy? Wait a minute. I saw something about that, I know. A headline. Mysterious disappearance of famous financier. Oh, what's it all about? I didn't read it carefully. Well, it's a bit odd. I dare say it's nothing really. Old chap may have cleared for some reason best known to himself. It only happened this morning, and nobody would have thought anything about it, only it happened to be the day on which he'd arranged to attend the most important financial meeting and do some deal involving millions. I haven't got all the details, but I know he's got enemies who'd just as soon that deal didn't come off. So when I got wind of this fellow in the bath, I buzzed round to have a look at him. It didn't seem likely, of course, but unlikelier things do happen in our profession. The funny thing is, old Sugg has got bitten with the idea it is him, and is wildly telegraphing to Lady Levy to come and identify him. However, as Sir Reuben is a pious Jew of pious parents, and this chap in the bath obviously isn't, I'm not going to waste my time. One thing is, the man would be really extraordinarily like Sir Reuben if he had a beard, and as Lady Levy is abroad of the family, someone might say it's him, and Sugg'll build up a lovely theory like the Tower of Babel, and destined so to perish. You're certain of your facts, I suppose? Positive. Sugg, of course, says he doesn't take account of fancy religions. Oh, Sugg's a beautiful braying ass. He's like a detective in a novel. Well, I don't know anything about Levy, but I've seen the body, and I should say the idea was preposterous upon the face of it. Well, what do you think of a brandy? Unbelievable. Sort of thing makes one believe in heaven. But I want your yarn. Do you mind if Bunter hears it too? Invaluable man, Bunter. Amazing fellow with a camera. And the odd thing is he's always on the spot when I want my bath or my boots. I don't know when he develops things. I believe he must do it in his sleep. Bunter? Yes, my lord? Stop fiddling about in there and get yourself the proper things to drink and join the merry throng. Certainly, my lord. Mr. Parker has a new trick, the vanishing financier. Absolutely no deception. Hey, presto, pass. And where is he? Will some gentleman from the audience kindly step upon the platform and inspect the cabinet? Thank you, sir. The quickness of the hand deceives the eye. I'm afraid mine isn't much of a story. It's just one of those simple things that offers no handle. Sir Reuben Levy dined last night with 3 friends at the Ritz. After dinner, the friends went to the theatre. He refused to go with them on account of an appointment. I haven't yet been able to trace the appointment, but anyhow he returned home to his house, 9 Park Lane, at 12 o'clock. Who saw him? The cook, who'd just gone up to bed, saw him on the doorstep and heard him let himself in. He walked upstairs, leaving his greatcoat on the hall peg and his umbrella in the stand. You remember how it rained last night. He undressed and went to bed. Next morning he wasn't there. That's all, said Parker abruptly, with a wave of the hand. Oh, it isn't all, is it, Daddy? Do go on. That's not half the story. But it is all. When the man came to call him, he wasn't there. The bed had been slept in. His pyjamas and all his clothes were there. The only odd thing being that they were thrown rather untidily on the ottoman at the foot of the bed, instead of being neatly folded on a chair, as is Sir Reuben's custom, looking as though he had been perhaps rather agitated or unwell. No clean clothes were missing, no suit, no boots, nothing. The boots he had worn were in his dressing-room as usual. He'd washed and cleaned his teeth and done all the usual things. The housemaid was down cleaning the hall at 6:30, and can swear that nobody came in or out after that. So one's forced to suppose that a respectable, middle-aged Hebrew financier Either went mad between 12 and 6 a.m. and walked quietly out of a house in his birthday suit on a November night, or else was spirited away, like the lady in the Ingoldsby Legends, body and bones, leaving only a heap of crumpled clothes behind him. Was the front door bolted? That's the sort of question you would ask straight off. Took me an hour to think of that. No, contrary to custom, there was only the Yale lock on the door. On the other hand, some of the maids had been given leave to go to the theatre, and Sir Reuben may quite conceivably have left the door open under the impression they'd not come in. Such a thing has happened before, and that's really all. Really all. Except for one very trifling circumstance. And I love trifling circumstances, as many men have been hanged by trifling circumstances. What was it? Sir Reuben and Lady Levy, who are a most devoted couple, always share the same room. Lady Levy, as I said before, is abroad at the moment for her health. In her absence, Sir Reuben sleeps in the double bed as usual, and invariably on his own side, the outside side of the bed. Last night he put the two pillows together and slept in the middle, or, if anything, rather closer to the wall than otherwise. The housemaid, who's a most intelligent girl, noticed this when she went up to make the bed, and, with really admirable detective instinct, refused to touch the bed or let anyone else touch it. Well, it wasn't till later that they actually sent for the police. Was nobody in the house but Sir Reuben and the servants? No. Lady Levy was away with her daughter and her maid. The valet, cook, parlour-maid, housemaid, kitchen-maid were the only people in the house, and naturally wasted an hour or two squawking and gossiping. I got there about 10. What have you been doing since? Trying to get on the track of Sir Reuben's appointment last night. Since, with the exception of the cook, his appointeur was the last person to see him before his disappearance. There may be some quite simple explanation, though I'm dashed if I can think of one for the moment. Hang it all, a man doesn't come in and go to bed and walk away again mid-noddings in the middle of the night. He may have been disguised. I thought of that. In fact, it seems the only possible explanation. But it's deuced odd, Whimsy. An important city man on the eve of an important transaction, without a word of warning to anybody, slips off in the middle of the night, disguised down to his skin, leaving behind his watch, purse, cheque-book, and, most mysterious and important of all, his spectacles, without which he can't see a step. He's extremely short-sighted. Now that is important. You're sure he didn't have a second pair? His man vouches for it. He only had 2 pairs, one of which was found on the dressing-table, the other in the drawer where it's always kept. Whew. You've got me there, Parker. Even if he'd gone out to commit suicide, he'd have taken those. So you'd think, or the suicide would have happened the first time he started to cross the road. However, I didn't overlook the possibility. I've got particulars of all today's street accidents. I can lay my hand on my heart and say none of them Sir Reuben. Besides, he took his latchkey with him, which looks as though he meant to come back. Have you met the men he dined with? I found 2 of them at his club. They said that he seemed in the best of health and spirits, spoke of looking forward to joining Lady Levy later on, perhaps at Christmas, and referred with great satisfaction to this morning's business transaction, in which one of them, a man called Anderson of Wyndham's, was himself concerned. Then up until about 9 o'clock, anyway, he had no apparent intention or expectation of disappearing. None, unless he was a most consummate actor. Whatever happened to change his mind must have happened either at the mysterious appointment which he kept after dinner, or while he was in bed between midnight and 5:30 a.m. Well, Bunter, what do you make of it? Not in my department, my lord, except that it is odd that a gentleman who was too flurried or unwell to fold his clothes as usual should remember to clean his teeth and put his boots on. Those are 2 things that quite frequently get overlooked, my lord. Well, if you mean anything personal, Bunter, I can only say I think the speech an unworthy one. It's a sweet little problem, Parker mine. Look here, I don't want to butt in, but I should dearly love to see that bedroom tomorrow. 'Tis not that I mistrust thee, dear, but I should uncommonly like to see it. Say me not nay. Take another drop of brandy and a Villa, but say not nay, say not nay. Of course you can come and see it. You'll probably find lots of things I've overlooked, said the other equably, accepting the proffered hospitality. You're an honour to Scotland Yard, Parker. I look at you and Sugg appears like a myth, a fable, an idiot boy spawned in a moonlight hour by some fantastic poet's brain. Sugg is too perfect to be possible. What does he make of the body, by the way? Sugg says, replied Parker with precision. "But the body died from a blow on the back of the neck. The doctor told him that. He says it's been dead a day or two. The doctor told him that, too. He says it's the body of a well-to-do Hebrew of about 50. Anybody could have told him that. He says it's ridiculous to suppose it came in through a window without anybody knowing anything about it. He says it probably walked in through the front door and was murdered by the household. He's arrested the girl because she's short and frail-looking and quite unequal to downing a tall and sturdy Semite with a poker. He'd arrest Thipps, only Thipps was away in Manchester all yesterday and the day before, and didn't come back until late last night. In fact, he wanted to arrest him, till I reminded him that the body had been a day or two dead. Little Thipps couldn't have done him in at 10:30 last night. But he'll arrest him tomorrow as an accessory. And the old lady with the knitting, too, I shouldn't wonder. Well, I'm glad the little man has so much of an alibi. Though if you're only gluing your faith to a cadaveric lividity and rigidity and all the other quidities, you must be prepared to have some sceptical beast of prosecuting counsel walk slap-bang through the medical evidence. Remember Impey Biggs defending in that Chelsea tea-shop affair? 6 blooming medicos contradicting each other in the box, and old Impey elocuting abnormal cases from Glaister and Dixon Man till the eyes of the jury reeled in their heads. Are you prepared to swear, Dr. Fingermy-Tight, that the onset of rigor mortis indicates the hour of death without the possibility of error? So far as my experience goes in the majority of cases, says the doctor, all stiff. Ah, says Biggs, but this is a court of justice, doctor, not a parliamentary election. We can't get on without a minority report. The law, Dr. Fingermy-Tight, respects the rights of a minority, alive or dead. Some ass laughs. Old Biggs sticks his chest out and gets impressive. Gentlemen, this is no laughing matter. My client, an upright and honourable gentleman, is being tried for his life, gentlemen. And it is the business of the prosecution to show his guilt, if they can, without a shadow of doubt. Now, Sir Thingamy-Tight, I ask you again, can you solemnly swear without the least shadow of doubt, probable, possible shadow of doubt, that this unhappy woman met her death neither sooner nor later than Thursday evening? A probable opinion? Gentlemen, we are not Jesuits, we are straightforward Englishmen. You cannot ask a British-born jury to convict any man on the authority of a probable opinion. Hum of applause. Yes, well, Biggs's man was guilty all the same. Well, of course he was, but he was acquitted all the same, and what you've just said is libel. Whimsy walked over to the bookshelf and took down a volume of medical jurisprudence. Rigor mortis can only be stated in a very general way. Many factors determine the result. Cautious brute. On the average, however, stiffening will have begun, neck and jaw, 5 to 6 hours after death. In all likelihood have passed off in the bulk of cases by the end of 36 hours. Under certain circumstances, however, it may appear unusually early, or be retarded unusually long. That's all very helpful, ain't it, Parker? Brown Sward states 3.5 minutes after death, and in certain cases not until lapse of 16 hours after death. Present as long as 21 days thereafter. Lord! Modifying factors, age, muscular state, febrile diseases, or where temperature of environment is high, and so on and so on. Any blooming thing. Never mind. You can run the argument for what it's worth to Sugg. He won't know any better. He tossed the book away. Come back to facts. What did you make of the body? Well, not very much. I was puzzled, frankly. I should say he'd been a rich man, but self-made, and that his good fortune had come to him fairly recently. Ah, you noticed the calluses on his hands. Yes, I thought you wouldn't miss that. Both his feet were badly blistered. He'd been wearing tight shoes. Walking a long way in them, too, to get such blisters as that. Didn't that strike you as odd, in a person evidently well off? I don't know. The blisters were 2 or 3 days old. He might have got stuck in the suburbs one night, perhaps. Last train gone, no taxi, had to walk home. Possibly. There were some little red marks all over his back and one leg I couldn't quite account for. Yes, I saw them. What did you make of them? I'll tell you afterwards. Go on. He was probably a sullen, ill-tempered man. His nails were filed down to the quick, as though he habitually bit them, and his fingers were bitten as well. He smoked quantities of cigarettes without a holder, but he was particular about his personal appearance. Did you examine the room at all? I didn't get a chance. Well, I couldn't find much in the way of footprints. Sugg and Co. had tramped all over the place, to say nothing of little Phipps and the maid. But I noticed a very indefinite patch just behind the head of the bath, as though something damp might have stood there. You could hardly call it a print. It rained hard all last night, of course? Yes. Did you notice that the soot on the window-sill was vaguely marked? I did, and I examined it hard with this little fellow, but I could make nothing of it except that something or other had rested on the sill. He drew out his monocle and handed it to Parker. My word, that's a powerful lens. It is, and jolly useful when you want to take a good squint at something and look like a bally fool all the time. Only it don't do to wear it permanently. If people see your full face, they think, dear me, how weak the sight of that eye must be. Still, it's useful. Sugg and I explored the ground at the back of the building, but there wasn't a trace. Oh, that's interesting. Did you try the roof? No. Well, we'll go over it tomorrow. The gutter's only a couple of feet off the top of the window. I measured it with my stick. The gentleman scout's vade mecum, I call it. It's marked off in inches. Uncommonly handy companion at times. There's a sword inside and a compass in the head. Got it made specially. Anything more? Afraid not. Let's hear your version, Whimsy. Well, I think you've got most of the points. There's just one or two little contradictions. For instance, here's a man wears expensive gold-rimmed pince-nez and has had them long enough to be mended twice. Yet his teeth are not merely discoloured, but badly decayed, and look as if he's never had them cleaned in his life. There are 4 molars missing on one side and 3 on the other, and 1 front tooth broken right across. He's a man careful of his personal appearance, as witnesses his hair and his hands. So what do you say to that? Oh, well, these self-made men of low origins, they don't think much about teeth. Terrified of dentists. True, but one of the molars had a broken edge so rough that it made a sore place on the tongue. Nothing's more painful. Do you mean to tell me a man would put up with that if he could afford to get the tooth filed? Well, people are queer. I've known servants endure agonies rather than step over a dentist's doormat. How did you see that, Whimsy? Had a look inside. Electric torch. Handy little gadget. Looks like a matchbox. Oh, then, I dare say it's all right, but I just draw your attention to it. Second point, gentleman with hair smelling of Parma violet and manicured hands and all the rest of it never washes the inside of his ears. Full of wax. Nasty. Well, you've got me there, Whimsy. I never noticed it. Still, old bad habits die hard. Oh, righto. Put it down to that. Third point. Gentleman with manicure and brilliantine and all the rest of it suffers from fleas. By Jove, yes, you're right. Flea bites. It never occurred to me. No doubt about it, old son. The marks were faint and old, but unmistakable. Of course, now you mention it. Oh, still, that might happen to anybody. I loosed a whopper in the best hotel in Lincoln the week before last. I hope it bit the next occupier. All these things might happen to somebody, anybody, but separately. Fourth point. Gentleman who uses Parma violet for his hair, etc., etc., washes his body in strong carbolic soap, so strong that the smell hangs about 24 hours later. Carbolic to get rid of the fleas. Well, I'll say this for you, Parky, you've an answer for everything. Fifth point. Carefully got-up gentleman with manicured, though masticated fingernails, has filthy black toenails, which look as if they have not been cut for years. All of a piece with habits as indicated. Yes, I know, but such habits. Now then, sixth and last point. This gentleman with the intermittently gentlemanly habits arrives in the middle of a pouring wet night, and apparently through the window, when he has already been 24 hours dead, and lies down quietly in Mr. Phipps's bath, unseasonably dressed, in a pair of pince-nez. Not a hair on his head is ruffled. The hair has been cut so recently that there are quite a number of little short hairs stuck on his neck and the sides of the bath. And he has shaved so recently that there is a line of dried soap on his cheek. Oh, whimsy! Wait a minute. And dried soap in his mouth. Bunter got up and appeared suddenly at the detective's elbow, the respectful manservant all over. A little more brandy, sir. Whimsy, you are making me feel cold all over. He emptied his glass, stared at it as though he were surprised to find it empty, and set it down. Got up, walked across to the bookcase, turned round, stood with his back against it, and said, "Look here, Whimsy, you've been reading detective stories. You're talking nonsense." "No, I ain't. Uncommon good incident for a detective story, though, what? Bunter, we shall write one, and you shall illustrate it with photographs." "Soap in his—" "Oh, rubbish," said Parker. "It was something else. Some discoloration." "No, there were hairs as well, bristly ones. He had a beard." He took a watch from his pocket and drew out a couple of longish, stiff hairs, which he'd imprisoned between the inner and outer case. Parker turned them over once or twice in his fingers, looked at them close to the light, examined them with a lens, handed them to the impassible Bunter, and said, "Do you mean to tell me, Whimsy, that any man alive would—" He laughed harshly. "Shave off his beard with his mouth open, and then go and get killed with his mouth full of hairs? You're mad. I don't tell you so. You policemen are all alike, only one idea in your skulls. Blessed if I can make out why you're ever appointed. He was shaved after he was dead. Pretty, ain't it? Uncommonly jolly little job for the barber, what? Here, sit down, man, don't be an ass, stumping about the room like that. Worse things happen in war. This is only a blinking old shilling shocker. But I'll tell you what, Parker, we are up against a criminal, the real artist and blighter with imagination. Real, artistic, finished stuff. I'm enjoying this, Parker.